What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kevin Checkwitz. This is the Kaged Review, and this is going to be a review for Split, the movie from M. Night Shyalaman, who is the second in the Unbreakable series. We know that now, of course. And you should know by the title, if you checked on this video, this is a spoiler review, so we're going to get into some things that happen in the movie. Now, this is basically centered around one character, and that is James McAvoy's character. And James McAvoy's character, whose given name is Kevin, but this guy has multiple personalities, and like 20-something personalities, all residing in one head. And one of the first things you see is he winds up kidnapping 3 girls. And they all react to the situation differently, being held captive. One, Casey Cook, who was played by Anya Taylor-Joy, had to look at that, sorry. She actually did a very good job, I think, Anya did, as Casey. She had probably the most prominent role other than James McAvoy. And James McAvoy in this movie is absolutely stellar. Like, you had to have somebody that had some acting chops, and McAvoy pulls it off in spades. And if you heard me talking during the Glass trailers, you've heard me talk about McAvoy's performance in this movie, and it's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to Glass so much. It was a phenomenal movie based on his performance alone. Seeing him transition from one persona to the next was very, very, very cool. And even seeing how the girls that are being held captive have to react to this guy who has got so many different personalities. It's really, really an interesting tale. One of the things that makes this so unique is one of the captives, Casey, she's a little bit smarter than the other 2 girls. She's a little bit more world savvy. And slowly, as the movie progresses, it starts to unfold details of this girl's past and her own trials and tribulations that she's already gone through that have made her smart, that have made her a little bit more world-weary. And she kind of learns how to adapt not only to James McAvoy as a whole, but to each specific personality that he has. And I thought it was very cool how they did it. I really did. I saw a couple of reviews where people were talking about how they didn't necessarily like the flashbacks of Casey's story, and it felt disjointed. I didn't get that at all. I honestly thought it fit very well into the movie, and it does a great job of explaining why she's a little bit more savvy than the other 2. The other 2 being picked specifically because they're kind of spoiled and haven't really had life test them at all. So it was actually very cool. Betty Buckley plays a psychiatrist that's working close with James McAvoy. And she's trying to get through to him and, I don't know, I guess bring him around to a socially adjusted type person where, you know, he can interact with society, you know, somewhat normally. And what she doesn't realize is that he is very messed up, and she eventually goes to visit him because one of the personalities sends her a text. And, you know, she gets there, they get into a conversation, and kind of goes nowhere for her, and she finds one of the girls, and that's when things really start to escalate. And throughout the movie, all of Kevin's personalities are hinting toward this one personality that they call the Beast. And when he finally comes out, you see that he's like incredibly super strong. It like changes his physical body. The muscles pop out, the veins pop out a lot more on him. You know, he just looks incredibly jacked. And he's climbing up walls with his bare hands and climbing upside down on roofs, scaling on ceilings. And you're like, how is all of this possible? And throughout the movie, they're talking about how people with multiple personalities can psychologically create different aspects of their body chemistry to work differently than other personalities. An example would be like one person might need, insulin, they're have diabetes where another personality would be just fine. Something like that. And so they take it to the absolute extreme with the Beast. And you're like, how is this possible? It kind of loses you for a second. But then you get the very end twist where this girl escapes from the zoo that this guy, Kevin, worked at. And so he's around the animals all the time. And so he took on the nature of the animals, which is why they called him the Beast. And so she escapes, and you see the story on the news right after that, and it's playing in this little restaurant, and these girls are talking about this other guy that got captured, and they couldn't remember his name, and then Bruce Willis, playing David Dunn again, is talking to them and says, it was Mr. Glass. And so you instantly realize that this whole movie has been a background story building up a main villain for David Dunn in the Unbreakable series. And so when you realize that, everything kind of makes sense again, and you're like, oh, okay, this is supposed to be a little bit supernatural. It's supposed to be, comic book-ish. And so that is very cool when you get there. And having seen this before, I actually seen Split before Unbreakable, so kind of ruined it, unfortunately. I didn't even know they tied together. But going back and I just watching it literally just now, an hour ago, it's so cool to see, man. It really is. Like, I wish I had seen it in order and I didn't get everything kind of spoiled. But it was an absolutely fascinating journey to see. Watching Unbreakable and then Split. Now I obviously am so amped up for Glass. Like, I can't wait to see what they do there to end out the trilogy. So, I mean, as far as the movie goes, I've already said you have phenomenal acting from James McAvoy. Anya, I think she did very, very well. A couple of side roles, not so big. Really good score, though, at points. Again, the music really makes the mood, and so does the cinematography here sometimes. And I thought they were both very well done. And it's a slow burn movie again. Unbreakable, I said, for being a comic book style movie, this isn't your traditional comic book movie that you would think of nowadays. This movie happened before the big wave of Marvel and DC movies. Very slow paced, methodical, builds a feeling in you, builds tension, tells a story. And so like Unbreakable had one real action scene, and this one, I would say there's a little bit more action, but not much. Not much. It's solid performances in this movie that sell it. And sell it very well, it did, I think. I think if I had to grade this, I mean, I gave Unbreakable a 9 out of 10. I feel like this deserves an equal rating. I really do. I felt like it was a very, very strong outing for M. Night Shyalaman. And I've already seen that Glass has got some very split reviews. Some people are just absolutely in love with this movie already, and some people really did not like it. So it seems to be pretty divisive. I'll just have to get there and see what I think, man. See what I think for myself. I love this movie, though. I really did. I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking forward to is McAvoy's performance again as Kevin. I think that this guy, the multiple personality disorder, it just really works. So, that's where I'm at with it. I feel like this was a very good movie. I cannot wait for Glass. I think this is Shyalaman at the top of his game. I really do. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, subscribe, and share. My name is Kevin Jackowitz. Kaged Nation, out.